We're live.
We are live. What's going on, everyone? I am Adam. This is Lucas. And this is episode 2 of the Weekend News. That's what we're calling it now.
Yes.
We've established names. Professional.
Yeah, I figured, this might as well just become an episode kind of thing because, it's news. Everybody wants to hear news. So we have a lot to get into today. We got a lot going on. Juicy shit, happening.
A lot of nice topics.
Meaty. Go far.
Okay. Well, I guess I will start it off with some of our what's been going on in the world of voting and recounts. And awesome hat. I would 10 to 10 would recommend. So we'll start off with Michigan. Michigan will be is in the works, actually, of trying to begin an audit of out-of-balance tallies, and the two Republican representatives and 2 Democratic representatives of the absentee counting boards, they got together and they initially decided that an audit would be the best way to go, but then after they had tweeted that this would be the path that they would be taking, a lot of threats and doxing followed. Their real names, where they lived, who they associated with, families, exactly. Everything was just up on Twitter, and a lot of people were calling to find out where they work. And obviously, this is a blatant invasion of privacy, and honestly, I don't think I'd really wish it on my worst enemy.
No, yeah, it's kind of really messed up, especially when you start, there's a legal process that has to happen in the United States. Mm-hmm. There's discrepancies. These things, they have to be followed through with audits. The legal process has to play out. Everybody should want an election to be as legal as possible, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. You want this to be a legal process because everybody wants to have faith in the election. And obviously, we're sitting here today, but I mean, if Biden were to win, and there is no election, there's no major election fraud that would have swung the election, then the system worked as it intended, and I won't be upset. I mean, I'm not going to go, raging on the street or, crying on the ground, pounding my fists and hands like a baby, because at the end of the day, the system does work. He was justifiably elected. And I will accept that. But that being said, everybody else in the United States should want to feel the exact same way about what's going on and how everything is happening.
I mean, at that point, it's not even a conflict of, like you said, like what side of the aisle you're on, whether you're far right, far left. You should just unanimously want to have the right answers in the correct way. I don't think it's really a question, but obviously a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. And continuing on to Michigan, 70% of Detroit's 134 absentee counting boards were found to be out of balance with no explanation. And obviously the committee found that this was irregular and wanted an audit, but the Republicans went back on their decision and said that no, an audit maybe isn't going to be the best choice after, like I said, threats and doxing followed. And let's see, a lot of issues with Dominion software, voting software that a lot of people use, and
good times here. 80s rock.
80s rock. It's nice. Let's see. Dominion software was used by a lot of states. It's a popular voting software, but has been known to contain a lot of irregularities.
Yes.
Michigan had trouble with 6,400 votes in the initial primary, and 846 of these votes were by dead people. And last time I checked, dead people can't vote.
And then they try to tell you, that it's human error, or hey, some of these people have the same name as their parents, and okay, fine, that's justifiable. But when you're getting the same name put in 2 or 3 times with the birth date of 1920, I'm sorry, but I don't know a lot of people from 1920 who are still alive.
It's even like not even 1920. It's like New Year's of 1900.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's just a default date. Well, couldn't you bring the default date something a bit more modern than 1900? Because I don't think your grandparents are even 1900.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And let's see, 6,000 votes were flipped blue during the presidential election, and this was just in one county, while 47 other counties used the same software. And it was allegedly that an employee forgot to update the Dominion software.
With the memory card, who knows how that works?
Well, that wasn't Michigan. That was Georgia.
Yeah,
and that's like a whole another thing. I mean, our election lies in the fate of someone remembering to put in a memory card.
Memory card, which I'm not sure how a voter system works, but I mean,
shouldn't work like that.
Shouldn't work. Have to put a memory card into the voting machine.
And remember, the Democrats were preaching like for the past year that this election could not be rigged, that it was like supposed to be one of the safest elections of all time.
Yeah,
and it's like,
or even before then, when they were preaching that Donald Trump would try to steal the election through voter fraud.
Oh yeah, in 2016 when Trump did win, they're all like, "Oh, like it's the Russians.
In the
they got in." And years preceding. It's like we don't know what happened, and now it's this year. It's just like, oh yeah, like we got our stuff together.
Yeah, we got our stuff together. So now here's what I and again, so going to what I what he was saying. I mean, it's really greasy, some of this stuff. A lot of things coming out. The memory card, those. It seems in every instance that there have been some sort of suggested voter fraud issue. It swings in the way of Biden, and you could be on the other side of the aisle. You can be, well, maybe because the Republicans just aren't calling it right, but the Democrats aren't calling it for themselves either. So if you're going to say that if I'm going to sit here and say that there's an issue for Trump, and somebody would tell me, oh well, they could just not be reporting on the media hates Trump, and they'd want to smear this dude as bad as possible. So if any of you, anybody on the other side of the aisle could just straight up tell me what that fraud on the Republican side is, I can't see it. Now, not to say that there isn't, because according to what Powell said recently,
oh man, I'm blanking.
So Powell came out. She stated earlier in a press conference, so prior to the press conference, she stated that she had evidence that this election was blown out of the water by Donald Trump. Going by what we see in the election numbers, we don't know exactly how that would be possible. Some estimates say that he won by a 410 landslide. That would have to be the entire country voting for Trump. That sounds a little outlandish to me. I don't entirely buy that, but if I don't know if you want to bring up the map real quickly.
Oh yeah.
Not the one by every legal, not the one. Well, actually, bring up both AP and legal. We'll compare them both together.
Okay.
So and we'll see what. Because I'm starting to have a lot more faith in that every legal one.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 2 maps that we've been looking at. We've been keeping a close eye on since the day of the election, and it was every legal vote and AP. So the AP is the one that everybody sees, is the one that everybody knows. The problem with AP is they've called stuff so early that and they aren't calling things that it's kind of greasy, and especially when the margin of error is so close in some of these states, especially like I think it was Arizona. So
I've got the.
Now, what does it say for what he's gonna win? Like for what Trump would have?
So there are this website that we use. It's called everylegalvote.com, and I would encourage you guys to go check it out. I've cross-referenced, not all, but a couple of their sources, and from what I've seen, they, do seem that they have legitimate sources, and they have 3 tabs. They have with voter fraud, current status, and without voter fraud. And without voter fraud, every legal vote says that Donald Trump will get 318 and Joe Biden will get 220. And where AP has the map sitting at right now is 306 to 232. And if we look at with voter fraud on everylegalvote.com, it says Joe Biden winning with 306 and Donald Trump losing with 232.
232. Now, what's interesting about this map is, the way it splits. So obviously, Trump would have the 232 versus, Biden's 214. But most of this, so all of New England, California, Washington, all the way, Washington, Oregon, those places are blue.
Unsurprisingly,
because for the last, I think, 20 years they've been voting blue, so that's not an issue. That's not something that's not out of the ordinary. That's not something.
They're also not even close enough to really take a look at. Like,
oh yeah, let's go California, right?
If we just go to California and check, Joe Biden has 63.6% of the vote, and Donald Trump has 34.2% of the vote. It's completely like.
And check what check what the other map has there for it. We'll see what they got.
See if they'll give me. They don't have anything modeled for California.
Let me check on the other version of it. And again, like I was saying, everything will vote. Let's go to Cali and.
But what we're seeing on every legal vote that every single state that has been being talked about is in question. Like we have Georgia, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and that is Arizona. Yeah.
And again, on all the standard Democratic states that have been voting Democrat for years. Obviously, these trends followed, especially on the every legal vote. And it says that Trump has the possibility to come out with that 306 lead, or he comes out with the 330.
I think it's 318.
318 lead, and that sounds a lot more realistic to me, especially to what Powell said. So Powell came out recently in a press conference with Mayor Rudy Giuliani, as well as prior to when she, I suppose, teased it, saying that that she was going to bring out the Kraken, that things were going to happen, and it was going to be crazy. Well, with Mayor Rudy Giuliani, so in between that statement and the press conference with Mayor Rudy Giuliani, I stumbled across a news article and a couple of other news articles stating that an overseas, I think it was server was a server was collected overseas, I think en route to Germany in a cargo ship, and it was seized, and it was said to have information regarding the election. Now, some say that it has information that Trump won. Some say, that the information is inconclusive on what it has. We're still waiting for the court hearings to come out. Obviously, the legal proceeding still has to come through. But essentially, what Powell said was that the Kraken. So a lady had asked, "Is the story of the overseas seizure true?" Powell said it is. Now, if that portion of the story is true, if all of this comes to light in the election, in the courts, I don't know what that could mean for American elections. It means that neither Republicans nor Democrats should trust the system, because she suggested that not only were Democratic, but Republican officials were buying in as well, which you'd be like, well, that doesn't make sense, until you start to realize, obviously, that so the Senate dropped to Republican, not majority, but they dropped seats to Republican.
Yep.
The Senate, Republicans had gained seats as well. And then you start to look at,
the House gained seats.
The House gained seats and the Senate gained seats, I believe, as well. People retained their seats, and I think they even lost seats. So the majority got smaller.
Well, in the House, I know that it was the Republicans that made gains, and now I want to say that it's a 18 to 19 seat difference with about 220 in the Democrats' favor, and about I want to say 202 in the Republicans' favor.
Yes. So either way, it shows that the Republicans have maintained almost, an unimaginable red wave. This could mean good things underneath the Biden presidency, depending on how you see the Biden presidency. I'm of the belief that this will not end well, especially not ending with Biden as the president, in the sense that if he does get elected, who knows for how long. But that being said, an inert government is better than a destructive one, I think. So if it's not able to get anything done, that's good for me, because that means that the government can't do anything for anybody, and it means nothing invasive will happen.
Oh, yeah.
So going into it, so now the overseas seizure, she claims it was true. We're still waiting for the court hearings to come out. And like I said, it would make sense because on how Republicans were able to gain in the Senate and the House and lose as the presidency. Which means that people would be aware enough to vote for Republican senators and housemen, but also to vote against Trump, which going against, obviously all the Trump trains and Trump motorcades that everybody has seen. It's kind of, I guess it'd be more or less impressive to see that would be the case. Now, what she's claiming to be the case could blow a lot of this out of the water. So I think that'd be insane.
And it's there is a lot of solid facts going around, but there is also a lot of things that are up for hearsay. And I personally think that the media has done a very good job of taking advantage of that.
Yes. And
there are a lot of things that they aren't covering, and a lot of things that other news outlets may be covering. The big time media is saying that it's all just hearsay, or it's just false. Yes. And there are a lot of things that, especially like CNN, have said that are false, and they've come out, or different outlets besides CNN have come out and said, no, this is true, and here's the facts, and it was available to you guys. And I think it's just they see that Biden does have the most clear track to victory, and now they're getting blissfully ignorant, thinking that they're now, I guess, immune to everything else that's going on.
Yes.
But to move on from Michigan, we've got a lot to talk about with Georgia. Georgia did come out, I want to say, last week, and said that they would be doing a recount, an unofficial recount, mind you, and hand recount, and they did. And I want to say between Monday or Tuesday, they came out and said that the hand recount was still in Biden's favor. But the most important thing is that specifically Floyd County had found 3,000 votes that were in favor of, or 3,000 votes that had just been found and not counted. And this is a big problem because when you're doing a hand recount like this, it's normal to find maybe a couple hundred, like low balling 100, and you're not supposed to find 3,000 votes in one county. You'll maybe find 3,000 votes in the entire state, but like I said, you aren't supposed to find this stuff in a BS recount that Georgia said that they were going to do. And you're really supposed to find a lot of that stuff in an audit, like how the Trump administration is very hardly pushing in Georgia, and
recanvass audit and a recount all in one, I think.
Yeah.
The wholesale, just the absolute recanvass of the system, which again, legal proceedings aside, like legal proceedings, this is the way every American should want it to be. Just the fairest, the fairest as possible. I mean, like, I don't know how much you could say that, and I don't know how well the left would take that, but I think that it really should be. I think it should be to the best of the legal proceedings, and I think that it should be left up to the freest and most freest, most legal way. Again, I keep saying legal 100 bazillion times because I really want to get it through that. The system should work.
Everything that is happening isn't illegal. It isn't tyrannous. It isn't like fascist, or even like there's a lot of claims that have been going around, especially in Michigan, in Wayne County, where Detroit is, which is a predominantly black city, that a lot of that these votes have been racist. And it's not that it's completely legal. The system has been set up and designed to take care of these things. And when a large amount of people find that something sketchy like may be going on, then it also seems a little suspicious that an entire other group of people who happen to be winning say, it's fine, like, let's not go there, let's just leave it how it is. And if there wasn't anything going on, then they could just be like, oh yeah, sure, go right ahead, do it. You won't find anything. But another small thing that happened, David Schaefer, he is the head of the Republican Party in Georgia, the Republican Party Committee, I think it's called. And he tweeted out that Republicans were sent home from voting centers while voting kept happening. And they had told the Republican overseers that they were going to stop counting, and they continued to. And like I said, it's completely legal for both parties to have observers present, so nothing like bias is happening. And when you send home the opposing party's officials and continue counting, it all seems too suspicious for anything.
Too much error for too much room for corruption.
No, exactly. And Fulton County, they had a mail-in ballot rate rejection rate of 0.4%, and that may sound normal, but in 2016 they had a mail-in ballot rate rejection rate of 5.77%, or 5.77%, which is more than 10 times higher than what we saw in an election that had far more mail-in votes. And unless they figured out how to count, or everybody figured out how to do mail-in voting the right way, who had never done it before.
Look, especially coming in from a lot of people. Okay, so they started taking so something that happened just prior to the election was the mailboxes were getting taken away. Mailboxes were getting taken away in a number of states across the country, and people started complaining. They took to Twitter, all the blue check marks, and started complaining, which is weird because they all use of the belief that, I mean, if you're in California, if you're in any major city, even suburbs, I mean, nobody relies on USPS anymore, right? So USPS, now to put this in perspective, right? USPS has been losing money for 13 years straight. I mean, this is the 13th year that they've made negative in their books. I'm sorry, but why would I trust a failing company to send in votes to our country when they can't even get you your medication on time?
A failing company that, mind you, said early on that
they couldn't handle
that this would be far too much for them to handle, and then miraculously, it's like, oh, my bad. Shouldn't have said that. Now everybody's just like, oh yeah, it's all good. And then everybody who was paying attention for the past year is like, well, now hold on. You guys said that you couldn't do this, and now suddenly you can? Like, in a company that is, like you said, going negative for the past 13 years, I find it hard to believe that they were able to scrounge up the funding available to purchase more trucks, more people, even just being able to
The handle
sort
logistics
through.
of it.
Yeah,
The absolute logistics of it. I'm sorry, right? So if you have the biggest names like UPS and Amazon and FedEx saying no to this, and USPS, so USPS, right? Because it's I suppose a government funded institution, it's been going negative. It has been bailed out by the government so many times, and yet they rely on that to get you your votes when not even FedEx, when not even Amazon was claiming that they would be able to do this. I'm sorry, I don't buy that they would have the ability to do any meaningful good, any good with mail-in votes. I don't believe that anybody would be able to, especially on such a large scale like this. I mean, last election we had it by election night. We had everything done by election night. We knew who won, and we knew who had won the day afterwards.
Mhm.
What kind of and I won't say that this is the longest election period that we've had in history, at least in modern history, because Bush v. Gore took 38 days. I don't want this to be a 38-day process, but I do want this to be a process, a legal process.
Like a correct legal process that follows all of the steps that the government has put in place to, like I said, protect this sort of thing from happening. And it's far too messy for I find for anything to not be going on. But let's see. It was either Fulton County or Floyd County that stopped voting because they had a broken pipe, and
I think it was Floyd.
There was Floyd.
I think it was Floyd.
And the voting center had reported
pull it
a broken pipe, and when the Trump administration asked for the town records of the filing of this broken pipe, there was
let's see if we can get it pulled up.
Yeah. All right, so we have a quote right here. It says, it's not going to load. Basically what happened is when the Trump administration and their lawyers had gone in and asked for the official records, there were no signs or even records of there being a broken pipe in this building. And why stop voting in a very time-sensitive manner? I think that to stop voting for a made-up reason. It says, beyond the lack of documentary evidence of the inspection or repair of a ruptured pipe, we are being asked to believe that there is not one single picture of this allegedly ruptured pipe at a time and in a place where virtually everything is recorded and documented, commented Paul, I'm going to butcher this, Zukowski, a lawyer in Georgia.
Zukowski. Now this is the source that we use for this is just PM.
Post Millennial.
Oh, Post Millennial. I mean, if they're saying it.
Yeah. I mean,
Post Millennial saying it.
And we do have all of our sources linked in
the channel.
In our channel. If you go to our channel information and you go to the About, then you will find blue text that says our sources, and it will take you to a document that will be updated every weekend with all of our sources, and you'll be able to open the outline of the document and go to whatever specific date that you wish. And like I said, all of our sources will be there, and plus any other sources that we may have planned to use and didn't get to use.
Now, I will say, it's not pretty, but hey, we just started. These things will get better. Practice.
I think my portion was pretty.
Yours is way more interesting than mine, that's for sure.
I made sure to give you guys a
best.
little bit of comments. But moving on to our last topic about voting was Dominion, which I said that we would be getting into before. And if you guys do not know, Dominion is a very widely used voting service used by many states. And a key thing to point out, in 2019, Texas rejected using Dominion because they said that according to their laws and the specific needs that they felt that would be needed to be met by Dominion were not met to ensure the safety of the votes. And noticed how Texas didn't use Dominion, and I mean they're red. So
yeah.
But in August of 2020, a data security expert, Harry Hursty, said that Dominion voting machines could be hacked by, quote, modifying just a few lines of code on the machine's memory card. And I didn't bring it up previously when we were talking about Georgia, but the 3,000 or so votes that were found were because an employee didn't upload the correct memory card. And if we're losing 3,000 votes for both candidates, it was there were votes on on the side that went towards both candidates, but if we're using a system that depends on memory cards that can be altered, then I find it to be very dangerous. And a Dominion spokesperson did come out and say that the what Hursty was talking about had been fixed in 2012. Hursty came out again and said that the changes that they had made were insufficient. And to kind of put the icing on the cake, PBS had did a study a week before the elections on the Dominion voting machines and found that the QR codes could be hacked into and altered and make candidates' names completely disappear from ballots, which is obviously pretty dangerous. I mean,
so it left room to get rescanned as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could rescan a ballot a bunch of times. And going back to Powell and what Powell said it again to touch on that. So Powell had made a statement saying that voters that the software that sucks.
Yeah,
just lost his cap. So she had made a statement that Dominion voting software was produced under Hugo Chavez with Smartmatic. That it was it was made at the behest that an election came out the way he didn't want it to, and to ensure that election never came out that way again, Smartmatic was issued to make a voting software that would flip votes. Now that she said that, Powell said that Dominion software, its most magnificent ability was that it was able to flip votes with an algorithm, meaning it's not like it just took a bunch of votes and flipped it because it'd be too obvious. It's supposed to this ratio to this ratio flip votes, so it's almost unnoticeable. And again, that would undermine the election for both parties. I don't know. I mean, that's almost country breaking right there.
Mm-hmm. And back to just to lightly touch upon, I want to say, the kind of getting sidetracked what I was originally going to say, but there had been a series of affidavits conducted by, I would imagine, the Trump administration, but it could be someone else. I'm not sure, but basically what an affidavit is, it's an official inspection of, that's an audit.
So
An affidavit is, to put it in layman's terms, it's the equivalent of sitting next to a trial and being questioned by a lawyer. You are required to say, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And if you don't, it is considered
perjury.
Perjury
and
charges,
fraud. Yeah. Perjury and fraud charges. So the algorithm was designed in a way to be able to flip votes unrecognizably. But the problem was, going back to what Adam here had said about the pipe bursting in the building, or Pennsylvania when they said that they were going to stop counting, and all of a sudden at 4:30 in the morning they started counting again, and all of a sudden you have the iconic graph where it shows the votes go up and then Biden's just spike up and come out. Amazingly, it looks like an F for fraud. So what Powell had also said in the press conference was that so many people were voting for Trump that the algorithm had crashed. The system had broke down. So to fluff the books, almost like fraud in a company with their money, they brought in truckloads of pre-printed ballots to fill the gap. So when they say, how did Biden get this? Oh, well, we had these many paper ballots, right? So then you could do a hand recount on these paper ballots, but the ballots were pre-printed, she says. Mm-hmm. Now, whether that story is true or not, it just seems a little fishy that there's no evidence of a pipe bursting. There's no evidence of a pipe bursting in a building. All of a sudden they tell people that they're going to stop counting in Pennsylvania. Then they come back and all of a sudden, whoa, what the hell? I just went to sleep because they said that he stopped counting. I wake up in the morning and he's up a bunch of votes. It seems like a system crashed and they tried to backfill.
Mm-hmm. And
it just looks too corrupt.
I remember staying up till it was 1 o'clock in the morning and on election night watching the election, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go to bed. And Trump had a very steady lead over Biden, and then I woke up
too.
Yeah, and it was climbing, and then I woke up and suddenly a very large portion of the United States is blue. And I'm not just talking about the states that were expected to be blue.
Arizona.
It was Arizona, Nevada was leading blue, Pennsylvania, I want to say, was blue. Michigan and Wisconsin were both blue, which had been red the night before, which steadily red, mind you.
It just says something to say that when you start breaking it down, well, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Well, what she's suggesting, so people have been suggesting is that there isn't widespread voter fraud and that it's targeted specifically the swing states. Mm-hmm. And that was a safe standard. Well, it's just specifically targeted. Maybe they didn't worry about the House and they didn't worry about the Senate because they didn't believe they were going to lose any seats. They just worried about the president because they really wanted him to get out. That's why you see Republicans winning in places where Trump is not. What Powell suggests is that no, there actually is evidence of widespread voter fraud and that the whole system had pretty much taken a sledgehammer to the country. Again, I don't know if either story is true. I don't know if to say that there isn't voter fraud at all, such as CNN, Don Lemon, and the other dude over there, Brian Stelter. What's really irresponsible is to claim that there isn't any voter fraud at all or any evidence of voter fraud at all, when obviously in past elections, and
even
it's impossible.
There
to
are
not
blatant signs of voter fraud, and like I said, they may be saying that there isn't widespread voter fraud, and a lot of people have come out and say that there may not be widespread voter fraud based on the information that we had. But to come out and say that there is no voter fraud whatsoever, and whether it be targeted, widespread, or even in just a single county, would be completely irresponsible, especially with the resources that CNN has. And mind you, CNN isn't some bootleg
unbiased news.
Yeah,
page.
Unbiased. Yeah, exactly. And
I hear recently that their viewership has fallen to below Steven Crowder's. I don't know how a YouTube channel could surpass
who's on primarily on YouTube who doesn't have viewership on national television. Let's see. Do you want to get to some of your topics first, or
everybody? My cat. Sorry, she just invaded my show.
Do you want to get to what you were going to talk about, or do you want to get to COVID?
So let's see what's next anyway. So what we have? Sorry, we have. I think that pretty much wraps up. I mean, obviously, again, I want to leave off on that segment saying that it's important that we let the process play out. I mean, it's the best way to enforce freedom going forward. You always want these legal processes to play out because it means a better future. Look at Florida, right? So in the Bush v. Gore election, 38 days because of some issues that Florida was having with their vote. But you look at it, and Florida was one of the first states to confirm. They were one of the first states to declare who they believed the winner because they had learned from the prior election, and other states had learned from the prior election, and that's why you had a lot of states just moving forward, almost immediately closing the vote because they knew they already had the information in their hands. And again, like I said, I think it's just important to let that process play out. Next thing that's coming up is the COVID. So
before we move on to that, I just want to remind everyone to subscribe and hit the bell because hitting the bell is a lot more important than just subscribing.
It's more news and more cats.
Yeah. Also like it if you like it, and
hey, leave a comment. Leaving a comment. Sufficiently stupid, bigoted, and racist, that helps our algorithm. So
true. And if there are any particular topics or resources that you'd like us to cover, then like I said, or like Lucas said, just leave it in the comments. And I would encourage subscribing. I know many of you have subscriptions that you don't pay attention to. I know I do. And this wouldn't be one of them. But.
Yes, no, absolutely. We will. Like Andrew Clavin says, we'll hand deliver our content straight to your house. Yeah. Lock up your silverware though, because we'll take that. Andrew Clavin, man. Again, so next thing we have on our list here is we have the COVID and what's been going on. So obviously we're I don't want to say obviously, but so we're citizens of the smallest state in this union, Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. It's fundamentally the bluest state. I mean, I don't even know why they call it an island on the map. It looks just like water. That's how blue it is.
Mind you, just Rhode Island. No longer Rhode Island.
Oh, in Providence Plantations, because that just got voted out in the election. So obviously, so people, it's plantations. It sounds almost triggering when you hear the word plantations, not the connotations behind it, right? Blacks working in the field and being held down by white suppressors. But the problem is, New England, in its history, has never actually had a proper plantation in the sense that they never had large farms. I mean, it was plantations was a farmland of any sort or a large compound, and that's exactly what Rhode Island had. It had large compounds and farms, and that's why it was Providence Plantations because those were the plantations.
Rhode Island was and probably isn't large enough to be anything past, a large compound.
Oh yeah. But, I mean, think about it. Most of the plantations in Texas are a lot larger than the ones in. I mean, they're probably about the size of Rhode Island.
I would probably imagine, yeah. But what were you saying about?
So we're the smallest state in the union. That means that our governor is practically the president of our little country, and I'm not particularly a fan of her. She has been
many people who are.
I mean, there was a poll that was released in the United States. It was like a quiz. A lot of people had answered questions, and it was like in the top 5 worst. Gina Raimondo was there, and she got voted in again.
Well, I mean, who else are you supposed to vote in? I don't know. Anyone else who's...
Yeah, that's the problem. They don't tell anybody else, so it's like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, I know.
So sorry for my riffing. But not only this, so I work in Massachusetts, which is right next to the littlest state in the union. And the problem with Massachusetts, goodbye, Tinkerbell. And the problem with the littlest state in the union is that because it's so small and it's such an easy area to govern. Sorry, my cat is just being a pirate. She is a pirate. The problem with Rhode Island being such a small state, it's so easy to enforce lockdowns, and there's not a whole lot of area to cover, right? So it's not like, I mean, in a state that has 2 cities, right, like Pawtucket and Providence, 3 if you count the other one there, Fall River. There's no, like, it's a state of 3 cities. I mean, you go to Massachusetts, you go to Connecticut, that's child's play, right? What? 3 cities? It's an easy place to lock down. But the thing that bothers me the most is she implemented, and Massachusetts did too, they implemented restrictions. So the restrictions based, to my understanding, New York has done the same thing, curfews, right? So you can't go from this place, you can't leave your house from this time to this time. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know the COVID virus went to sleep. Right? So aren't I just as vulnerable at 2 a.m. as I am at 5 p.m.? And it's already shown worldwide that these quarantines, I mean, look at the CDC and the World Health Organization, respectively. I don't want to say respectively for the World Health Organization, but respectively, even both of them have said that these quarantines, they don't work. They don't. And they say, oh, 15 days to slow the spread, 15 days to slow the spread. Right. Well, it was 15 days, and then the spread just went buck wild. Mm-hmm. You have countries, if I believe it is one of the countries, never went into, I think it was New Zealand.
No, I think they were the only country who locked down everything for... I think it was like 14 days as like a precautionary.
Sweden never locked down. Sweden never went into a lockdown, and they've already almost reached. No, I think they already did reach herd immunity, and they're already leveling out. I mean, this is such an absolute flip side. So they say, well, America handled it poorly, but New York handled it well underneath Andrew Cuomo. I have family from New York, right? I have old family from New York. Well, of course he's not going to be able to, the death rate plummeted. Nobody was dying anymore. Well, no shit, because he killed everybody there was to kill. Yeah. He put all the old people back in nursing homes with people who were infected. It was 1,000 deaths a day,
which is like
for 33 days. Well, no shit. There's not going to be any more deaths in your state. You killed everybody.
Yeah, in a month. And to talk about like Sweden, like the herd immunity. I know that Rand Paul was said that there is a good chance that you may be immune after you catch COVID, and the left lit him up for this. We don't know that, like that's not confirmed or whatever.
Oh, he also suggested that masks or something might not work the way they
it may not be think, as effective,
which we have sources on that study done in Denmark.
And to like it may not be confirmed, but 4 out of 53,248,000, give or take, people who have gotten COVID have gotten it twice. One of them was a man in Hong Kong who had an autoimmune disorder or disease, and his body never developed antibodies to COVID-19. And so, I mean, kind of like
and the
3.5. I mean,
yeah, they said the second time he got it, his body reacted the way you'd expect anybody else to react. And his immune system skyrocketed.
But to put that in perspective, that is a 0.000007% chance of you getting it twice.
I mean, you're more likely to get struck by lightning twice.
No, I'm pretty sure you do have a higher chance of getting struck by lightning even once
than you do to get this.
Yeah. I mean, if we're so worried about, getting COVID twice, then I mean, everybody's better start playing the Powerball because you've definitely got a higher chance of winning that than getting this. But to put it in a half glass full perspective, it's a 99.9999993% chance of being immune. And I mean, obviously that's not high enough for the left, but
I think that's why. So we're going to get into a couple of things like Moderna and Pfizer and Moderna and then Pfizer again and then Moderna and Pfizer again. I think it's like a coping mechanism. Like I said last episode, my Theo Jorge, he got corona, he recovered, he's fine. Now I know people who have gotten it before who are much younger, and I know some people who have been severely wrecked by this. There are long-term effects, and we're not denying that. We don't know what they are yet, as it hasn't been long-term yet. It's only been a year. But I do not believe that lockdowns and that curfews should be set in place because there just is not enough evidence. In fact, there is much more evidence to the contrary that these things really work. In fact, there's more evidence, in your opinion, to the contrary. And what I mean by that is think common sense. This virus doesn't go to bed. Right, so forcing you to stay into your house, these stay-at-home orders, and these curfews, like it just sounds like a government fist more than it does a Band-Aid, and it seems to be an issue in search of a problem. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand where they came from with these ideas on these curfews. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't benefit anyone for a curfew, for a lockdown, and it seems strikingly ironic to me that we should come off these lockdowns and immediately go into riots, because obviously people are going to riot. These people have been cooped up in their house for so long. Not saying that that's a good thing. People shouldn't riot. That's an unfortunate use of your power, and a very elegant way to show off your intelligence.
Yeah.
But I believe that, like, these things just, like, all right, so Biden said when he comes in, so I told you about, I sent you the page on Biden's relief plan, relief plan. So he, besides copying and pasting what he took from Trump, which Trump called him out for in the presidential debates when he said, "But your plan is my plan."
And Mike Pence called out Kamala Harris
for the same,
Joe Biden for the same exact thing.
And what we've come up to is him, saying that he is going to be down for the lockdowns and stuff like that, and he's going to, go full lockdown. In fact, Rhode Island's already I just got a notification. Hold on, let me read this to you. So I just got a notification sent to my phone by my glorious state in overlords. And it says, it's called Rhode Island on Pause. Now, Rhode Island on Pause has open in-person pre-K to
pre-K to grade 8 school.
What the hell?
So to like 8th grade.
Yeah. So
I can't do 9th grade though.
No.
Even though,
or high school. So the fact that anybody below the age of 20 has almost a 0% chance of dying,
or like
it's a 99.99999 what like
repeat
8 whatever chance of survival. I mean, there have been, I think, 2 people under the age of 20 have died of COVID worldwide, even less than people who have gotten it twice.
And I want to say that both of them had some lying condition.
Some underlying condition. And it's really unfortunate when you have companies like CNN, former news outlets like CNN and New York Times. They have the death counter. How egregious is that? Because I could put the death counter for deaths of car crashes or drowning up, and you would see the numbers climb. You'd be like, oh, well, maybe I don't want to. But then all of a sudden you see the likelihood of how much, what you could die. So these deaths worldwide are obviously going to climb. They will. I mean, as long as people die, these numbers will climb.
Mm.
And it looks bad because you're looking at it in the perspective of the entire planet. What's really unfortunate is if, again, like I said, I were to put the car crash death rate right below it, right? If I were to put the death rate below it for car crashes or drowning, you'd be like, well, wow, maybe I don't want to go to the beach, or maybe I shouldn't go to the pool. But you think to yourself how logical that would be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The steps you could take to not die in a car crash. The steps you could take to
someone who's maybe like afraid of flight, afraid of flying, and like it's an airplane is like maybe like, oh man, like the plane could go down, like it could crash. It's just like, okay, it definitely could. Will it?
And of course, like
Probably
you
not.
have passenger liners. The death rates for those obviously are high. There are hundreds of people, but
over time.
But it's funny because it's like, okay, cool. A lot of people, have died in a plane crash, but let's take that relative to how many planes have gone down and how often that happens. All of a sudden, flying planes doesn't sound so bad anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's all like relative information, and you have to look at all the facts. And one thing that the media has been really good at over the past year.
So how messed up is okay? You can continue. I just want to read this afterwards.
The media has done a very good job of shoving over the past year of shoving these big, scary numbers in your face, and associating that with death and sickness, things that as humans we naturally are and should be afraid of, sickness wise.
Yeah.
And they've been saying like, oh, like thousands and thousands of people have been dying. It's like, oh God, like I don't want thousands and thousands of people to die. And it's like, well, how many people? And then they're like, oh, like this many people have like gotten it, and you're just like, oh wow, like it seems a little scary. And then you think, but how many people have recovered from it? And how many people has it affected? Like the flu hasn't affected them. And like I said, very good job of just taking, these big numbers and, deeming them scary. And now we are feeling the repercussions of them, like in lockdowns. And don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that Joe Biden said that he wanted to do a country lockdown for about like 40 days.
Yeah, a national mask mandate. How unconstitutional is that?
Sorry, I don't think I could even explain it in the time that we've been going on.
And now just to go back to this, so now they have in-person, pre to grade 8, childcare, manufacturing and construction, personal services, and healthcare are open.
Personal services being things like like salons, like a barber salon, like nail salons.
Not because I don't want to get these things shut down, but I just want to say now, how egregious is that? Because you go to a salon, you get your hair blown out. Like, isn't that a bit more?
Getting this air that you don't want to be breathing in?
Isn't a full capacity salon more risky than a house of worship? Because personal services are now able to have max capacity, right? So you can have max capacity at a salon, you can have max capacity at a barbershop. But all of a sudden, I scroll over, and under the limited section, we have in-person high school. Again, we already said that the rate of transmission from people under 20 is extremely low, right? And most people under 20 are already what do you call that? They're not immune. They're asymptomatic, right? So it's like the likelihood of them getting infected by a teacher is extremely low. And now your kids aren't getting taught, right? I caught the backblast of this last year. So I graduated last year, and I caught the front end rather of these lockdowns. I was in my house, trying to learn from a computer. It sucked. It really did suck. I couldn't go outside practically because there was nowhere to go. Obviously, I live in Rhode Island. There's nothing to do. Everything shut down. Not that we have anything to do anyway, but I couldn't go anywhere, right? Because the government has my parents scared that I'm gonna be in my car and somehow catch virus like a gunshot through the window, or a flat tire from a pothole. And a lot of people, they claim the experts, but like, what do the experts know on something that's new, right? There are no experts in something that's new. So now you have people running around scared and nervous because they don't know what's going on. Nobody can do anything. I can't go to my school and learn. And now I'm sitting here. Not that I was particularly upset about being robbed of my high school experience, because in practicality, I don't think I really ever had one. But just not being at the school really sucks. You know what I mean? Not going to school. From somebody, again, who doesn't really enjoy school, I'd much rather have been walking the halls of the school and seeing everybody than being in my house on a computer, because mentally nauseating to have to go through this firsthand. And Adam, here, you're still in school. I don't even, and you said you only do from online learning. I don't even understand how you do that.
We've had in the beginning of the year, we were given a choice of whether or not we wanted to do the hybrid system that almost all schools across the country are doing, or we could just do fully distance learning. I chose fully distance learning for the reason that I knew that there was going to be like an outbreak within the school, and they would send everybody home, and which is now exactly what is going on. The school and the middle school is shut down from it came into effect Friday, but officially starts Monday until December 23rd, which is the beginning of winter break, like Christmas break. And then you have like the 1.5, 2 weeks after that is Christmas break. And then we're supposed to be going back. But, if Joe Biden stays on this track of becoming president, then I doubt that our in-person learning will last much longer.
Now, so yeah, it says in-person high school is in effect. Social gatherings, one household. What the hell does that even mean? Thanksgiving, buddy. Like, how could they tell you as your family how many people you should have in your? That sounds kind of fascist to me.
No, well,
how many people you can have in your house for Thanksgiving. I have a large family. They come from all over the country. And I don't want a government to tell me how many people I should have in my house. It's my house. I mean, I should be able to have as many people in my house on Thanksgiving as I want, if a personal service is able to have max capacity. Mm-hmm. Which is really weird, because the personal service, again, I'm talking about blowouts and stuff like that, can have max capacity. But yeah, I'm looking at right here, and indoor dining can only have a 33 capacity, which is weird, because at every restaurant I've been at, you've been sitting at your own table, which more or less has been distanced from everybody else around you. So how could you tell me that at a personal service you can have max capacity, but at an indoor dining, like a restaurant, you can't? Who sits next to each other that doesn't know themselves? Like, if I'm going to a restaurant, it's because it's either with family or people I live with. I'm not sitting next to somebody I don't live with. You know what I mean? Social gatherings, one household. I don't think that's right. I think that it should be up to you how many people are in your house. It's your house. It's your area. These people aren't going out into the street to other houses, right? These people are making a choice to come to your house. My family's not going to walk next door to the neighbor's house that nobody knows and just start coughing on them or start talking to them without a mask on. It doesn't work like that. And, people have a lot of respect for this sort of thing, for other people's space and other people's beliefs. I mean, even my family does. A lot of people may not think that we have that sort of respect, but we do.
And I definitely think that it should more be up to the families than the government, because if you have a family that has older family members like my own or like Lucas's, then it should be up to you to take that chance. If you want to take that chance, then you should be allowed to take that chance. And if you do feel the repercussions of taking that chance, then it was something you knew that was going to happen. It wasn't just, we're going to have like a big family gathering. What? She died of COVID? Like,
not that would even really.
No, yeah, but
yeah, since when is that a thing?
And it's just,
right? She died 50 years ago.
Think that it's
still loaded.
I personally think that it's an infringement on, everything that like America and the Constitution stands for, and being able to have the freedom to make your own educated decisions. And especially now, throughout an age where like technology and information is literally boundless at our fingertips, informed decisions should be happening now more than ever. Granted, doesn't always happen, but little people are kind of ignorant with the power that they've been given. But
like Bird Lady Raimondo. Oh, I can't say that. She'll arrest me with Obersturmführer Raimondo. She'll send her SS soldiers to retrieve me. Now,
Secret Service.
Yes, that's what we meant. So now it says we're here retail. Retail is 1 person per 100 square feet. I don't know if she thinks people have World War II era flamethrowers for mouths. But 1 person per 100 square feet. That's like I don't know how big you think a retail store is.
That's
that's the entire, at least in Rhode Island.
That's like 10 feet, like either in all directions. Like the aisles aren't even 10 feet wide. They aren't even 6 feet wide.
I don't know how many people have seen the movie Idiocracy, but in the movie Idiocracy, I've seen little bits of it myself. But to my understanding, in the movie Idiocracy, Costco is like a multi-square mile building. This could work in Costco. This is not going to work in Stop and Shop, or for those who are not from New England, this will not work in Walmart. I mean, 1 person per 100 square feet. What the hell does that even mean?
I went to the Walmart Supercenter the other day, and you've got people especially in the produce section. How are you supposed to manage? Somebody picks up an apple and they're like, "Oh, you know what? I don't really want this one. Put it back." And then some other guy walks up, picked up the same apple. It's a pretty nice damn apple. He goes home and he eats the apple. How are you? You can't take Kleenex to the apple. That's not what's going. You can't. It's the little things that do not make sense.
It's the little things that make the big things not make sense.
No, well, I mean, it's the big things that. Well, yeah, no, it's exactly. And kind of running out of things to say on that one.
Yeah, but and it says big box stores. I don't know what the hell, Costco, multi-square mile Costco, but big box stores is 1 person per 150 square feet. Dude, at 150 square feet, I couldn't even.
I'm pretty sure that's around 12-ish feet that you have between. I think it's like 12 and a half feet that you need to have, around you constantly. How do you even enforce that? I doubt that a quarter of the people living in the world even knows what 12 and a half feet look like in relation. At
least in the country, because we know that everybody else doesn't use feet. Meters? What the hell is?
And how are you even supposed to enforce that? It's like
what the hell is it? You're walking around. You have to get into the space where you're gonna be walking around with binoculars and like a patrol tower. I don't understand how
it's like somebody walks and you're saying, pepper spray. But no, that's not going to work because pepper spray doesn't reach 12 and a half feet.
It doesn't reach 100, or 150 square feet. I don't understand. Okay, so now it says, now this is the one that, wow, I'm a conservative. I'm religious. Who would have thought? Now, I'm not an avid churchgoer, but it does bother me that childcare, healthcare, and personal services are all max, but yet a house of worship has a 25. Now, talk about secularism. This is talk about secularism.
How do you decide who goes through? How religious are you? How many times do you pray a night, sir? It's I don't know, 4. Only 4. Get the hell out of here. What the hell are you doing? Get out. Are you even religious? It's how do you judge whether or not you're allowed into?
And what do you dictate is like
first come, first serve. It's like really. It's
like what kind of religion is that? What kind of religion is served on a first come, first serve?
What kind of freedom of expression like is that? That's not even. It's like you can express your freedom as long as you're doing it with as little people around.
25% capacity. Who are you as a government to? How are you? Who are you? Everybody. This is something I'll talk about later. And people have like this weird belief that America is secular. Oh yeah, and it was a PR stunt in the 40s to add the under God and the
it was like
One Nation Under God was added in the national anthem, and then a Pledge of Allegiance rather, and then they on the In God We Trust on the dollar was PR stunts. That one was a PR stunt in the 60s to stand against communism. But
I mean the entire Pledge of Allegiance was like the entirety of it was written as an ad to sell American flags.
As an ad to sell American flags. But I mean, even outside of that, I mean, you go back to George Washington. He wrote a letter to, I think, well, either way, there was a letter that George Washington had wrote, and it was during the signing of the Constitution, and it was noted in his letter that America wasn't secular in the people that they think it is. Well, a separation of church and state. Well, the White House has a church in it. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but the White House has a church in it. And the president prays in that church. A lot of the presidents, they call them WASPs, right? White Aryan
scumbag pieces of garbage. No, whatever.
Something Protestant. White Aryan, something Protestant. It's like because that's like how the presidents have been throughout the years. White presidents who are Protestant. A lot of the presidents,
secular,
like that, but it's Protestant. White Protestant presidents. But the White House has a church. The only ways that America, from its founding, is not what's the inverse of secular? It's
oh man, I'm blanking.
Yeah, whatever. The only way that
it's sacred.
No, not
like
sacred.
That'd be the inverse of secular or religious.
Either way. Well, the only ways that America is secular, I'll say, the only ways that America is secular is in the fact that the government cannot choose a state religion, and religion does not have any say in politics. Now, if you were to go true secular, that would mean that any government affiliation with I mean, if we were a truly secular nation, this would be sacrilegious. Like, you couldn't tell a church to what? You know what I mean? Like, who are you to tell a church? Separation of church and power, bud. Your power has no domain in my church. Who are you to tell a church that it has 25%? So, like,
yeah, I mean, and it's all like a lot of like, like,
why is that put in there?
We're just heavily advising. It's like, okay, how about just don't?
So I just scrolled over.
Just show me, and in the section that is closed, it says that.
Well, so let's go from the top down.
All right, in-person colleges and universities. I guess
is any different than a high school.
Basically, the government that you're fighting, which the left is fighting, the government to pay for your college.
How is in-person high school different than a college?
The government has deemed that hair salons, nail salons, barbershops are more important than your education. That should tell you their priorities. Number 2, offices when possible. I somewhat understand. There's a lot of like passing papers, and there's a lot of stuff in offices that can be done at home. That I don't really have a problem with. Bar areas. Restaurants are at there's 33% capacity. They should just be open in general. Recreational venues. These got some like bowling pins, so I'd imagine places like bowling alleys, launch, roller rinks, if we even have them. I think we have like one in
United
the
States
state.
of America.
Yeah, it's just even like it's more like an arcade and laser tag than
than it is roller skating. It's just a gimmick.
And indoor sport facilities, gyms, and group fitness,
Now,
organized sports.
I want to say something. So, and I guess maybe it's this. Maybe the reason. All right, so maybe it's because of Nancy Pelosi's blowout is why her personal services are here.
I don't know, like
because of what she did in California.
Yeah, we're not even gonna like talk about Nancy Pelosi right now. I could do 3 episodes on Nancy Pelosi.
So I mean, so personal services. Aren't you more separated in a gym than you are in a salon?
You got salons sitting like right. Have you ever been in a barbershop? It has like 6 seats,
and they're like right close to each other in a small room. But yet in a gym, I mean, what we have, it's separated out and it's closed. Like, why would you close that? So we have a gym just opened up. Thing's massive.
What gym?
It's.
Are you talking about? What do you call it? Are you talking about like LA Fitness?
Not LA Fitness. It's like
that opened up a while ago.
No, there's like it's red. I can't think of the name of it. Well, it opened up.
Either way, yeah.
Massive inside.
Mm-hmm.
I went there a number of times trying to get fit. Like you can't. The place is spread out. I'm not standing right next to anyone, even on a treadmill. And they have a whole treadmill room where they play a movie where you can just run and watch the movie at the same time. Good way to kill time.
And watch a movie.
You're not next to anyone. And then they've taken steps where they've closed off every other treadmill anyway.
And even then, it's people
lifting weights. You're not near anyone.
Even before this happened, you were required to wipe down your machines and your equipment after you used it.
Anyway.
It's like, not only was it a common courtesy that many people followed, it was also a rule that had been implemented.
Just because you're sweaty and you don't want your germs getting on other people. It's nasty. I don't want to touch a sweaty dumbbell or a sweaty treadmill. Like, it's just common. It's just gross. It's just common courtesy.
I actually got someone in the chat that said, I've been getting drunk on MAGA tears for like 2 weeks. It's been a hell of a ride. And
you know what? Honestly, I've been doing the same thing with leftist tears.
Yeah.
Maybe we can share a drink sometime. That'd be pretty cool.
I think it shows a beer bottle, laughing emoji, and middle finger. So, awesome.
What is a conscious type self-conscious type person? Self-conscious.
I don't know. I mean, I'm conscious
of myself, but not self-conscious. But I am not self-conscious. But hey, you know what? Honestly, hell of a ride. Yeah.
Hell of a. They spelt it like isn't it like a hummus? Like hell of a.
Yes.
Isn't it? It is a hummus. They spelt it like the hummus.
Conscious type person. Keep hitting that.
Copium.
I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. I think that's lost on me.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway. So we're just going back to like how they could, and they have closed universities and in-person colleges. The campuses are massive there, and of course the halls. Quinnipiac University is one that I'm familiar with. The halls in there are huge. Even your classrooms, you're not really too against each other. They're like there's practically, even in age, there's practically no difference between high school, no difference in high school and college and university. I mean, you leave high school at 18, you go into college at 18, and averagely rather. And like, it just seems kind of weird that these two are separated from each other, and yet that all 3 of those are separated from pre-K to grade 8. Like, why would you go just up to a middle school? And again, of course, we covered the facts of how the likelihood of you transmitting to somebody older than you under the age of 20, and for people over the age of 20, how you could still be asymptomatic and be fine with yourself, and that the infection rate and that the death rate for somebody up to the age of 70 is almost non-existent. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And for the people over, it literally drops down to a 94.8 survival rate or something like that.
And you know,
And it seems like this vaccine
we haven't
is
really
really
we
just
haven't really
made
brought
for
it up
them.
or cited from anything, but like a source that I would highly encourage you guys to check out. They get their sources directly from the CDC. We have it linked in our Bearded Review service or sources, sorry, and it's called datatrackerapp.com. It gives you an information about COVID infections, COVID deaths, and it also tells you whether or not those COVID deaths were either COVID deaths or COVID and pneumonia deaths, because a lot of hospitals have been counting, say, the flu or pneumonia as COVID if you had been tested positive for COVID. And people who had died early on, say you died from, let's say, a car crash and you had tested positive for COVID, then you tested positive for COVID, it was considered a COVID death. And it was really a cash grab for hospitals, because, you know, if they reported a certain amount of numbers for if they reported a certain amount of numbers for COVID, then they would receive a government, I want to say like care package or a government like monetary injection. And I think it was around $13,000 ish for each COVID case. So yeah, I definitely would recommend checking out datatrackerapp.com. They've got I wish that, you know, we could mirror our screen somehow, but
Yeah.
I'm like kind of blanking right. Oh, they've got a cool little graph. It's like
by
really,
demographic,
yeah,
by state.
Yeah, and even goes by age, by state. Like I said, directly
all the
from the
information
CDC.
CDC.
Mhm.
So it's all verifiable information. Cool little thing that we have, and I think it's actually I could bring it up. I know that really can't show anybody, but we'll still bring it up.
Yeah.
Where's over here, right?
It's looking at the top. Oh, you have it linked too.
Yeah, I do.
Anyway. So yeah, we've got Rhode Island pulled up, but yeah, it gives you a really in-depth look at how the deaths and the infections are comparable to each other, and uses a pie graph, which it really helps with the visualization of the numbers, because, you know, in your head, yeah, it's kind of hard to like compare maybe like 10,000 and 30,000. They're both like, you know, big numbers, but it's hard in your head to kind of compare large numbers like that. And this website does a really good job
of breaking all that down.
Yeah.
So I think that's Pfizer. Pfizer and Moderna have been going back and forth saying, no, my virus, no, my cure is better, no, my cure is better, no, my cure is better. Vaccine rather.
Which we brought up last episode, that this would happen. This is very good, because it's continuing to strengthen the because each company has to strengthen their vaccine in order to be the one who
to get the federal funding.
Yeah, and which it's really a net gain for everyone, because
we walk away with the virus and they walk away with money.
We walk away, not a virus, the best possible virus vaccine. They walk away with the money, and, you know, the government gets to fix the economy to its and allow it to
open back up
and fulfill its full potential. Not under Joe Biden, but if and hopefully when Donald Trump, you know, becomes the presidential nominee.
Next sitting president. Yeah. Next time on America's Apprentice. If I,
Let's see.
I think so. And Moderna came out and said, so Pfizer came out and said that they had a 90% successful vaccine. Moderna said, haha, you're stupid. Ours is 94.5, which is oddly specific. And then Pfizer came out again and said, no, we're just kidding. Ours is 95%. So
and then Pfizer was like, well, look at this, 95.5, and everybody's just like,
yeah. And then all of a sudden, as soon as they claimed that, they started. So as soon as they claimed the high number, they immediately started slamming the government, saying, no, we're ready. Send us some money. So, obviously that means that Operation Warp Speed is happening exactly as our sitting president had intended it to. And that means that a vaccine available to both parties, except Andrew Cuomo, because he doesn't want it.
I don't think I'll take it.
I think that it's cool to have.
No, it's definitely cool to have people who want to take it. But yeah, if you want to take it, then that's fine by me. But I would never take it.
No, only because because I don't need it. You know what I mean?
No, I've never gotten a flu shot, and I've gotten the flu. I think, well, I've gotten the flu like once back when I was in like 3rd grade. And
you know what I mean?
I'm almost sure it wasn't even like a flu. It was more of just like
cold.
It was like 2 days. Yeah.
And it's like even if you do get the flu, I mean, like these things that I don't expect this to ever go away. I don't expect this to be, to this virus to go extinct. I don't. I expect this to probably just replace the common flu. And we're just going to sit alongside the flu. Will deaths go up because of this? Probably. But there is now a vaccine which is 95% effective, which is like putting on a bulletproof vest to stop an airsoft gun. Is it overkill? Yeah.
And of course, we're not like, I know that I said that I wouldn't take it, and I was saying that you would. We're not discouraging you from.
We're not discouraging you to get it.
If it makes you feel safe and you're worried about your own well-being, then go ahead, take it. If the experts have come out and said that it is safe and that you can take it, then sure, like go right ahead. Like I'm not like one of those like anti-vaxxers who think that like we should never take vaccines. There are certainly vaccines we should take, like polio, the tetanus,
yes,
all of the other, I can't think. It's like
chickenpox shot.
The chickenpox. I think we have smallpox too.
Yeah,
HPV, whatever. It's
but getting back to it, and again, I think it's really important that I think it's awesome that this has happened. It really, because necessity and competition breeds creation. And we're getting some really great stuff from these 2 companies. Obviously, more iterations of these virus vaccines will come out later on, probably with more effective rates, whatever that means. But at the source of it, it's really nothing. It's really only, it's good just from here on out. And I expect us to return back to whatever could be normal in this economy, back to bolstering itself like it had, the stocks rising like never before, unemployment dropping to 4%, below 4%, which hadn't been seen since
like World War II era.
Yeah, when everybody was either in the military or working in factories.
Or even when everybody like came back and everybody all of these companies were like desperate for
workers.
Yeah.
That was turning point. That was like the best part of America right there. It was racist, but
besides
the cleanest
racism.
But it was the cleanest, prettiest America that I'd ever seen. Not that I'd seen it, but not for the racist. But the streets are pretty clean.
I guess like of black people, but
no, but if you look at the pictures of the 50s, you look at the pictures of the 60s, it's happy times. You know what I mean? Even in black communities, there's happy times. Everybody, everybody was
except for the racism. But
I know, except for the racism, but
they found ways to make it
happy.
Work. Of course, not condoning racism.
More condemning it.
Yeah.
But like I said, going back to it, it's crazy. A lot of people don't understand that he's a fantastic president so far, and if we get him again as a reset of the president, then we can imagine to see even better than the last 4 years.
A president who's good at doing his job, but I will admit, not good like not
Yeah,
good at talking
PR-wise.
like it. Like
except when he's in rallies, that guy can pull a crowd like nobody's
no,
business.
he definitely can, and
Which is
he definitely knows how to like
woo a
keep his
crowd.
cool and like keep his manners, like we saw in the debates and stuff. But
Yeah, the second debates was amazing for him.
Mm.
Absolutely a Trump we had never seen before.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, of course. And the first one definitely was bad.
It was horrible, but they always are. So.
On both parties' ends.
Let's just shut up, man. Where's Hunter? I'm not touching you. Stop it. So this actually segues perfectly into our next topic. I know we're running on almost an hour and a half here. We're running on an hour and a half, almost 2 hours here, but bear with us. This is a lot of information. It's a good weekend. Holy crap. Something that we've come up, something that actually was breaking news a while ago. So in an article by Task and Purpose, and an article also done, I believe, by Fox News and by Task and Purpose, Fox News, and I think someone by either Breitbart or Newsmax, was that Trump. So a week ago, it had come out that Donald Trump was firing. Sorry, construction working on the house. Top Pentagon officials were fired. Immediately led to the media speculating that Trump was setting up for a coup, and that he was filling the seats with all of his loyalists and loyalists for him. Well, something striking about that is when I had read that story, I'm like, well, that is weird, but it could also just be Trump's way of having a foot in the door to make sure that his last proceedings came in the way he had hoped. Well, as we had found out later, breaking news had told us, again, this one was from Task and Purpose, had released another article saying that Trump had fired top Pentagon officials because they had lied to him. They had lied to him about bringing troops home from Afghanistan as he had ordered. So they had given him a number. Well, this is how many troops do we have in Afghanistan? He said, awesome. I don't want them there. Let's take them home, which is something that he campaigned on when he first became president back in 2016, if you could remember back that far. And he had ordered them to bring these troops home in effort to get our footprint out of Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. Well, what ended up happening was the top execs and the Joint Chiefs of Staff had said to Trump, they had given him fluffed numbers. And then they proceeded to tell him month by month that the number was decreasing, that they were bringing these troops home. This made Trump happy because he now believed that American troops were now coming back to their families. Well, after a reset of the Secretary of Defense had fessed up to Trump, or on the Defense Committee rather, had fessed up to Trump that no troops had been moved and that the troops had still been there and the numbers are still fluffed. Well, this, I'd imagine, ties directly into Trump filling the seats with loyalists, because now you can understand these two stories together in conjunction in the fact that maybe he had fired these men because they had lied to him and started filling those seats with people who would actually listen to him and actually bring these troops home as he had ordered. Now, we know that Trump cares a lot about not only the soldiers, but innocent lives. Back in, I believe it was 2018, when he had launched the 57 Tomahawk missiles into Syria, he had found out that civilians had been killed, and the next press conference held after that meeting, he can be seen as visibly disturbed and somber. He carries this weight very heavily on him, and he always has, in regards to the people of the United States, which is how he's been holding up the middle finger for the middle-class America towards the media who have been lying to them. That being said, it all of a sudden makes sense now why he would fire these men and then why he would fill the seats with loyalists. Because now, according to Task and Purpose, he wants to reduce the numbers. He wanted the troop levels in Syria to be absolute zero. But now, because they had lied to him, he can't bring all the troops home in time by Christmas. So he at least wants to get, was it 2,000? I'm not sure. Are you on Task and Purpose?
Yeah.
I think he said he wants to bring about 2,500 troops out by Christmas time. And if he gets reset again as the president, so what this entails is This is an effort to stop the forever wars. And what are the forever wars? The forever wars were the wars in Afghanistan, the wars in Iraq, the wars in Syria that have been going on absolutely forever. These wars have had no gain to the United States, and it's just been something really greasy that's been going on for a long time. Now, by Trump getting these people out of the forever wars, it allows his Middle East peace deal that he had just pushed through to sit well. This means that for the first time since before your parents are born, the United States will now be out and peace in the Middle East will finally be achieved. Now, something that we could see here is that if Biden were to win again, he said that he wants to reinstate his deal, I believe, with Israel, the Israel treaty, or the Iran deal. He wants to reinstate the Iran deal, giving money, funding a terrorist organization, maybe funding a terrorist organization, which last time had failed so hard. It had got similar effects to the Middle East peace deal, where he had got the Muslims and the Jews and the Christians to all agree on one thing, that they hate America, which task failed successfully because he had just got everybody he wanted to unite, except in the wrong province. Trump here had now reversed that and got it done right. Now you have all these people agreeing and they like America. That got him out of, by getting us out of the Iran deal, by putting us in these Middle East peace deals. This would finally be the first step to ending the forever wars, which would be peace in the Middle East. Now, if this were to get reversed and the Iran deal were to be set in again, we can see this absolutely declining and forever wars beginning, and your children, your brothers, your fathers going back out to Afghanistan and Syria, which I am sure that you do not want, which is something I do not want, and visibly Trump does not want either. This had made me upset when I first read the story, when I first heard about the story, because how could these people, these generals, disobey a direct order that was not treasonous and did not put any lives in harm? So Republicans in the House and the Senate, and Democrats alike, had told Trump that this was something that he could not do. He couldn't pull these people out of Syria and Afghanistan because it'd be bad. You know, he'd spark up a war, probably just like 9/11. He did it. He ordered this anyway, and they strictly ignored him. Now, in the Army, this could get you kicked out or court-martialed. I don't understand how they did that and aren't in jail right now, because that is almost treasonous. They defied a direct order from the president. Now, if they have the balls to defy a direct order from the president, I do not understand. This leaves open question for what else these people thought that they could pull over.
And to keep in mind, the president to them isn't just the president. You know, the president is their commander in chief. Yeah, like he is the
ultimate power,
highest general. Like in layman's terms, he is the general of the generals.
Yes, I mean precisely. I couldn't have said it any better myself. I don't understand how it is. I don't understand how it would be how they are able to do that kind of thing. That's kind of greasy. It's kind of egregious. But we'll move on to the final topic, and just something I wanted to put out there. I thought that was something that was sort of going back to the final topic here today would be the Million MAGA March. So the Million MAGA March was something that had happened in Washington, D.C. when a bunch of conservatives and Republicans alike had assembled in Washington, D.C. To support the president. Absolutely an amazing show of just patriotic support for not only the president, for the country. And yeah, I see that number, and yeah, I see Trump losing is kind of wrong. There's a lot of people there. And there's such overwhelming support for this president, but it was not without issue. Now, in reports that had came in from not only the Daily Wire, but louderwithcrowder.com, as well as Fox News, there have been a number of sources saying, and especially on the ground footage, amateur news reporters, documenting what had gone on. And this was not without incident. There were children involved in incidents where
children being yelled at,
children being harassed, their families harassed. A child was injured after her father was pushed pretty much down on top of her by by a Antifa member, and you'd be thinking to yourself, well, why would you bring your children to a riot? Why would you bring your children to these kinds of things? Well, it wasn't meant to be. This was supposed to be a patriotic show to not only the country, but to the president of where Americans stand. And we had antagonizers and harassers who had put children in harm's way. And I don't think that's all right.
And like, to keep in mind, you know, this people live in, you know, these cities where like marches and like riots go on. It's they can't just like pack up and leave. Like, their lives are there, so they may not have been directly involved. They may have just been going on with their daily lives, and you know, they may have been involved. But what's really important is that a lot of things that happen, they affect the people whose daily lives revolve around, you know, the businesses that get destroyed and
cities
the places
burnt down,
that are targeted.
Stores that are looted. And it really kind of goes to show that, you know, it is, you know, this is America, and it's supposed to have the First Amendment, freedom of speech, the freedom to assemble. And I think it really says something that if you support the wrong person, you're put at risk and your family is put at risk. Now, I mean, if I were to bring, you know, if I had a family and I were to bring my children to the Million MAGA March, I wouldn't expect anything to go on, not only because there's a large crowd of Trump supporters, you'd imagine the numbers would outweigh the others, but because it's not supposed to be an aggressive event. It's not supposed to incite anything. It's just supposed to be a patriotic show to my president. It's not like it's Pride Month. It's not like a pride parade, or maybe it is. Maybe it is. It's a pride in the country. You know, and I believe that if you're able to have a pride parade where it's not harassed and burnt down or attacked, people are assaulted, then I believe that you should be able to support our president. You know, and not only our president, but the right to have, you know, and the freedom to have these amenities, you know, the pride parades, and the ability to go out and peacefully assemble and think what you think and not be, because that is not something that is given to us by our president, but it is something that is enforced by the Constitution. And for a man who does respect the Constitution in the way that he does, that we haven't seen from a Democratic, I mean, that we haven't seen from Obama or Biden in their old presidency, I think it leaves something to be desired and something that should be said about it, you know. And I think that's a good place to wrap up today. We do have other things to get on to, and this was, I think, a good, long, successful thing. But again, I think that, you know, you should have the right to assemble, you know, and you should have the right to gather peacefully and support whoever you want to support, because this is America after all, you know, and we do have standards. So we're gonna leave it off here. Oh, you got something to say? Well, we're going to leave it off here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and hit the bell button, because we will be bringing you content every weekend. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you here next weekend with more news and more of our awesome opinions.